Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are doing great today. Today's another great day, another great to be sober, another great day in spirituality, another great day to be alive. Yes, I'm glad that you guys could be joining me today with this video podcast. And man, so I hope, man, you know what? My last video, I did it in Spanish. I hope you guys enjoyed it. For those of you who watched it, for those of you who speak Spanish, I hope that I interpreted things in a way that you guys could understand. And hopefully, that journey keeps going. And like I said before, on Wednesdays it's going to be segmentation. It'll be the Spanish segmentation video on Wednesday, and we'll just pick out whatever topic we're going to pick out for that day, and we'll talk about it. But it's just going to be in Spanish. So hopefully that you guys enjoyed that, and we're going to continue that journey. On Wednesdays will be Spanish Wednesdays. So hopefully you guys continue to watch that and be informative of things that could possibly help you in any adversity that you're going through in your life. And that's the whole purpose of the video podcast, is to help as many people as we can to join us on this side of recovery, positivity, and spirituality, in whichever way that may be. Everybody has a different journey, but this could be the place where you get that first step, that first nudge, if you will. You know what I mean? But at any rate, before we get to today's episode started, if you would please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers, and for those of you and for those of us who are still in the struggle of the very things that keep us bound down in the world of this toxic world that we're in today. So again, please join me in a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. All right, well, let's get started. Man, check this out. What we're going to do today is we're going to continue with the reading of the book, The Cosmic Power Within You, this book right here, and it's by Dr. Joseph Murphy. This book has been very inspirational this past month and a half or so. It's been very inspirational. A bunch of good stories been coming out of this book, and I know that for me personally, it has rekindled things that I possibly had forgotten in my journey to where I am at today, so that I can keep practicing on certain things that I need to practice on, so that my journey continues on this spiritual and divine energetic way, if you will. And what we're going to do today is, like I said, we're going to read the book, and we're gonna go. We left off on chapter 14, which is titled "The Cosmic Power and Your Future." So we're gonna start there, and let me switch out these with these so that I can give you guys a good reading. So here we go. Chapter 14, and it's titled "The Cosmic Power and Your Future." It says, "Your mold, fashion, and create your own future by your present thoughts made manifest. Because as Emerson said, you are what you think all day long. Change your present thoughts and you change your whole life. You can direct the cosmic power within you and thereby control your life experiences. You can actually bring to pass the cherished desires of your heart. Your mind is constantly in motion, and thoughts, images, ideas, dreams, aspirations come and go. Your world is constantly changing in harmony with your habitual thinking. You create for yourself success or failure, affluence or poverty, health or sickness, and peace or pain by your conscious and subconscious thought. For as man thinketh in his heart, subconscious mind, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. Any thoughts of your good or bad, if consciously accepted, is implanted in your subconscious mind, and it comes forth after its kind. This is why you create your own future. Man, that is very, very powerful right there, and very, very true. I know through experiences. So let's keep moving. And the next chapter is titled, the next story in chapter 14 is titled, How a New Future Was Gained Through Cosmic Healing Power. A few weeks ago, I visited in the hospital a man who had undergone a major operation. He told me that his kidneys, excuse me, completely given up functioning. And he asked me to pray for him, saying, I have no future. I am 40, but I suppose I'm done for. What will happen to my family? Prayer is all that's left. I said to him, that is the first step. His first step was his willingness to believe that the cosmic healing power which made his body and all its organs could restore and heal him. We prayed together as follows. We join together now in knowing that the cosmic healing power which made your body and all its organs, known all the processes and functions of your body, and the miraculous healing power is permeating every atom of your being, making you whole and perfect. All your organs are God's idea, and through the power of the Almighty, they are functioning perfectly now. How about 15 minutes? About 15 minutes, our prayer was answered, and his kidneys began to function, which pleased his surgeon immensely. He is now back with his family in perfect health, and while conferring with me recently, he said, my future is assured. I know that my future is present thought grown up. This man knows that his faith in the goodness of God, in the guidance of God, and in the creative power of his own thought will always be made manifest in his life. With this attitude, he is building a glorious future for himself, full of harmony, health, peace, and abundance. The next story goes on entitled, How to Assume Responsibility for the Futures. Some months ago, I had an interview with a man who was blaming circumstances, God, faith, bad luck, and his in-laws for his unhappy, unharmonious condition. I explained to him that all of God's riches were available to him. Health, wealth, love, peace, harmony, and the cosmic creative power, which he could instantly contact through the medium of his thought. I emphasized the fact that it was up to him to make his own future whatever he wanted it to be. But he had to open his mind to receive the bounty of God. Here is the formula I prescribed for him, which I called mental and spiritual medicine. And it goes like this. First step, take all your attention away from old hurts, grievances, resentments, and ranking memories, and cease all self-condemnation or criticism of others. Second step, take time out morning and evening to implant in your subconscious mind by regular, systematic, and constructive thinking the mental patterns of harmony, abundance, security, success, and full expression. Third step, instantly chop off the head of every thought of fear, worry, sickness, defeat, discouragement, or lack of any kind. This means that you cremate or burn up every negative thought by immediately substituting constructive thoughts such as harmony, peace, love, joy, right action, and divine guidance. He undertook this mental discipline, and in the month's time, he noticed a remarkable change in his affairs in all phases of his life. He held on to this mental and spiritual regimen perseveringly and unflinchingly, and discovered that as he changed his mind, he changed everything. His business prospered. He sleeps better at night. He has ceased bombing others, and he is going ahead by leaps and bounds. He said to me, I realize that my future is my invisible thinking made visible. This is the truth that set him free. The next story goes on to say, it's never too late to change for the better. I recently explained to a young woman that the future was in her own hands, that she could do literally anything with her life because it was her life. The truth is that she could actually change her future. She had thought heretofore that her future was in the hands of God and that she could not determine and create her own destiny. Goes on to say, she pointed out to me that her mother had always told her that God knew best and that she should take what comes and be content. I explained to her that this isn't the truth. That she had to take the initiative and that God, the cosmic power, would not work for her except through her, i.e., through her thought and imagination. She adopted an intelligent plan to decide to run her life as methodically and efficiently as a successful person operates his business. The following mental technique was outlined for her with the instruction that she was to affirm these truths 3 times a day, feelingly and knowingly, with a deep understanding that every thought tends to execute itself unless neutralized by the counter thought. And it goes like this. I am now designing and mapping out my own future. I am a child of God and I have the capacity to think, feel, imagine, act, and react. From this moment forward, I choose harmony, health, peace, abundance, divine right action, happiness, and love. I know that these thoughts are like the seed placed in the ground, which contain the complete program for their full development. Likewise, my subconscious mind knows how to bring forth all the mental seeds I am depositing in my mind. I know my thought and feeling create my destiny, and I rejoice that it is so. It goes on to say, in less than 3 weeks, by following the above technique and prayer process, she had added color, vitality, joy, happiness, and luxuries to her life. She subsequently married a young physicist, has gone on a trip around the world, and has experienced wonderful mental transformations, whereby her life now has color, beauty, and love. She has discovered that the normal desires and demands of the full life can be met in an intelligent manner, since she has permitted herself to become a creative outlet for the cosmic power within her. She told me, it is wonderful to know that I am a child of God and that God is releasing and expressing himself through me and that I create my own future. The next story goes on to say, why are you always planning for the future? You are always planning for the future because if you are thinking or planning something for the future, you are thinking about it now. Likewise, if you are fearing delays, obstacles, and impediments to your future plans, you are thinking of these things now. In the cosmic mind, there is no time or place, only the eternal now. It is omnipresent, timeless, and spaceless. There are many people who get the weekend off and look forward to Blue Monday or Black Monday, of some call it. Naturally, it becomes a day of confusion and depression to them, as they had consciously decreed their future and their subconscious and responded accordingly. In all probability, they didn't even know that they had planned ahead, and this thus created their future. When you really want to change your future, you will come to a decision and to change your thoughts, feelings, actions, and reactions. You can have a new birthday in God when you realize that your mind is a part of the cosmic mind and the cosmic power is with your thoughts of good. If you can be transformed and you can build a glorious and wonderful future by the renewal of your mind. Very powerful story there. The next story goes on to say how a young woman discovered she has what it takes to face life. A few years ago, while lecturing at the Physics Science College in Belfast, Ireland, I interviewed a woman who said to me, I haven't got the power to handle my troubles and difficulties or to meet and solve the problems of life. I'm divorced, I hate myself, and I am no good. I explained to her that the conditions was simply due to habitual negative thinking and to constant self-criticism and self-condemnation, which were poisoning the springs of hope, faith, confidence, and enthusiasm, and were rendering her physical and mental wreck. In other words, she was taking mental generated poisons, and she was polluting the sanctuary of the living God within her. I explained the laws of mind to her and pointed out that she is constantly reaping what she sows in her subconscious mind, that she was here like everybody else to overcome problems, challenges, and difficulties and to lead a victorious life, that she had to stand up as a child of God and meet life boldly and to realize and utilize the tremendous cosmic power within her. I told her the story of how Eddie Rickenbacker, the famous aviator, of his companions were shipwrecked and were adrift on a raft on the Pacific Ocean. He prayed for food, and a gull came and perched on his head and remained long enough to be seized. The utilized for food. He prayed to be rescued, and of course, he was picked up. He believed in the wisdom and the power of God to take care of him, and the answer came, for the cosmic power answers when you call believing. This episode made a profound impression on the young Irish lady. I gave her the following prayer, pointing out that it was a process of reconditioning her mind, and that when negative thoughts of any kind came to her mind, which they would because of her destructive habit and self-condemnation and self-demotion, she was to immediately supplant them with a spiritual thought. This is the prayer which she was to repeat aloud for about 10 minutes, morning and night. I am a child of God. I am a channel of God. And God has need of me where I am. Otherwise, I would not be here. I know I am here to express more and more of God's love, life, truth, and beauty. I am here to do my share and to contribute to humanity. I have much to give. I can give love, laughter, joy, confidence, and goodwill to all people, to all animals, and to all things in God's universe. I am here to stir up the gift of God within me. I realize that I am a gardener, mentally speaking, and as I sow, I shall, and so shall I reap in life. Life is a mirror of the king as well as for the beggar, and whatever I give to life, life returns to me, manifested, multiplied, and running over. I deposit in the garden of the mind wonderful seeds of peace, love, goodwill, success, harmony, and joy. I forgive myself for harboring negative, destructive thoughts, and I pour out love and goodwill to all my relatives and to all people everywhere. I know when I have forgiven others, because when I meet them in my mind, there is no sting. I am free. I am constantly drawing out the fruit of the delightful seeds I am depositing in my subconscious mind. I know that my thoughts, like seeds, will be made manifest as form, function, experience, and condition. I think on these things, and the cosmic power is with my thoughts of good. I am at peace. Goes on to say, she repeated the above prayer for the recommended 10 minutes in the morning and evening, realizing that her eyes saw these truths and her ears heard them bring the two faculties of sight of bearing into function, thereby reinforcing the power of her affirmations. After a few weeks, I received the following letter. And it goes like this. Dear Dr. Murphy, all of us enjoyed your lectures in Belfast. You opened the eyes of many. I would like to tell you of the change that has come over me. I prayed the way you told me, and after a few days of the bitterness in my soul disappeared as if by magic. I joined a dancing class, and I have been promoted in the store to the positions of head of my department. The assistant manager proposed marriage to me, and we are to be married in 6 months. I have forgiven myself and my relatives. Every day is a new day. I know that I predict my own future by the way I think, feel, and imagine. I am grateful. God bless you. The next story goes on entitled, How a Salesman Changed His Mind and Changed His Destiny. Some months ago, a young salesman came to see me. He said that he could not get along with his boss. He had failed to make his quota of sales and had lost his job, and he was out of money. He had walked 10 miles to see his sister in Hollywood in the hope of borrowing a few $100s. His sister refused, saying that until he stopped drinking and philandering, she would not give him a penny, and she coldly turned him away. He told me that he had slept in a flop house and that the kindly desk man had told him to see me and that I would help him. I spent over an hour with him, listening to his sob story of grief, disappointments, and anger and resentment toward his former boss and members of his family, and who had refused to help him. He said that he was a member of a church, that he religiously followed all the rules, tenets, rituals, ceremonies that he attended every Sunday morning, but still everything went against him. This young man was also angry even at God for letting him down. In many instances, the explanation is the cure. Patiently and kindly, I explained to him that he could keep and follow all the prescribed rules, rituals, doctrines, and dogmas of the church, of a church form and an external standpoint, and still think negatively and destructively. I told him that if he believed in a punitive God, or that God had not played fair with him, such beliefs automatically would bring trouble and difficulties on him. In other words, he becomes his own tormentor and brings failure, lack, and misfortune on himself, for it is done unto him as he believes. I explained to him that the first step is to admit that he had been wrong. Then he could be completely changed in all phases of his life. My mental and spiritual perception for him was as follows. And it goes like this. Form a mental image of yourself as a great salesman. Imagine that your relatives and I are congratulating you on your new and wonderful position and your promotion and outstanding success. Run this mental movie frequently, and the cosmic power within you will lead and guide you to the new position and the wonderful opportunities for advancement. He decided to do just what I recommended. He did not overcome his problem of resentment toward his boss and relatives all at once, but whenever he thought of them or his boss, he silently blessed them by saying, I release you, God be with you. After a few weeks, he was completely free of his grudges, resentments, and hostilities. He now occupies an executive position in one of the leading organizations in Los Angeles, and he bubbles over with enthusiasm. He glows with the power, enthusiasm, and zeal of a transformed man. He has proved the age-old doctrine. Change your thought, and you change your future. And there you go. That is chapter 14. Man, what a powerful chapter, don't you think? I think that was a really, really powerful chapter, for real. There was a lot of messages in those stories, and it all goes back to the whole concept of what we talk about here, and a lot of it has to do with the mental thought process. I'm a strong believer in the fact that, man, if you want to change something, you have to change the mental thought process, because anything that you do, let's just rewind that a little bit, and just so you know, everything that you do in your life, everything, I don't care what it is that you do or where it is that you're at or whatever, but the reason that you are where you are today is through a mental thought process. That's how you got to where you're at today. Whether you're in success, whether you're bound down to an addiction, whether you're bound down to an eating disorder, whether you're depressed, whether you're angry, all of those things ultimately come and started from a mental thought process that you got. And granted, there's other factors that feed into those thoughts. You know what I mean? It just depends, people, places, and things, right? and what type of situations that you put yourself into. But ultimately, I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. Everything that you do is done because you thought a thought, and turn there, you got an action. So it to me, it seems pretty much black and white. You know what I mean? It's like, you have this power, number one, of that we're blessed with. You know what I mean? We have a power that you listening and me, myself, have the same power of free will. And whether it's the God that you believe in, the God that I believe in, the God that your neighbor believes in, it doesn't matter. The point is that we all got this gift. And however you believe that you attained it, it's okay. So long you use it. So long you use it in the positive and spiritual sense. Because when you do that, just like it said in there, when that woman was, just had all these negative thoughts, well, that's where her life was going. You know what I mean? She was already condemning herself that she wasn't good enough, that, things didn't go her way. When you think those things, those are the things that you're sending out into the universe. Those are the energies that you're sending out in the universe. So if you're that Debbie Downer, if you're that person that's always upset or always, negative towards your fellow man, your husband, your wife, your friends, your family, whatever, if you're that person that's always in this negative sense and always dogging people or whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. If you have this fearful and negative thought process, then guess what? That's exactly what your actions are going to be. You know what I mean? It's kind of, it goes back to the hamster in the wheel. If you feel that your life is just stuck in the mud and going nowhere, you've been like this for years. And I know plenty of people like that because I was there at one time. You know what I mean? When I relapsed, I was in the addiction for 5 years and everything I did was negative and fearful and dark. So what did I expect? Did I have thoughts of, man, I got to do different things? Or yeah, there was an occasional thought here and there, but it was just that. It was just a thought. We think thoughts all the time. You know what I mean? That's not a problem for you and I. You know what I mean? Thinking things is not a problem for any of us because it's scientifically proven that the human brain goes through 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day. Per day. Imagine that. You got this information highway of things that are coming into your freaking mind all day long. But here's the kicker. The kicker is where that gift comes in. That is the kicker. That is the fine line. That out of all these freaking 60, 80,000 thoughts a day that you have, that you get and you have the ability as that gift of free will to pick and choose the thoughts that you let enter into your subconscious mind, in turn there give you the actions and bring things into fruition and manifest as you will. You know what I mean? So because we live in such a toxic world it's just dark. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are stuck in that hamster in the wheel. You know what I mean? They automatically, the first thing they do when they get up, they're watching social media and all these negative things in there. You know what I mean? And so those are the types of things that you're allowing into your subconscious mind. Oh, I can't stand this person. Oh, this one's this or that's that. Or I can't, my mom is this or my dad is that. Or my husband's just, whatever. Or my wife or whatever the negative thought is. Those are the kinds of things that you're allowing into your subconscious mind. So then in turn, just like they said, when people for years have been saying, okay, well, you get the weekends off. But Monday comes around and they've already labeled it as gloomy Monday or doomy Monday or whatever, right? Nobody likes Monday because you got to come back from the weekend. Well, guess what? When you already think that, then guess what your day's going to be on Monday? It's going to be one of those gloomy days. And it's been going on like that for years that, you know, people don't realize that, you know what? Gloomy Monday can be, you know, Championship Monday, you know, First Step Monday. I'm on top of my game Monday. I don't feel sad Mondays. You know what I mean? I don't have to drink Mondays. I don't have to use on Mondays. It could be that day. But it's all up to oneself what you let into your subconscious mind and the type of thought process that you have. You know what I mean? So it is very, it could be very black and white. It could be very elementary thought process. But because we have so much toxicity in our life, that we make it hard. And for a lot of us, adversity, those chains that keep us bound down, whether it's whatever it's, for me, it was drug addiction, alcoholism, depression, sadness, being angry, and PTSD, all of those types of things I allowed for it to control my life in one way, shape, form, or another. In turn there, I wound up homeless and in the street. You know what I mean? I wound up selling drugs in the street and living a lifestyle of dark, just negativity. For 5 years, I was over there. You know what I mean? And it sucked. You know what I mean? From having from having a business and having money and having, you know, the vehicles and the family and everything, you know, was great. To at a drop of a dime, I just, you know, wound up homeless and lost my business, my home, my family, everything. And what kept me there so long was that fearful, negative, and dark thought process. Because had I stayed focused in positive, spiritual, and divine energies, man, my life would have been changed around. I probably would have got over that obstacle of losing my business and my home pretty quick, but I didn't. I stayed in the misery and I fed myself that. I blamed everything and everybody for me being there, and I just wasn't. It was hard to overcome the adversity, because it's not easy. You know what I mean? I'm not here to tell you that it's an easy process. You know, but when I decided that, you know what, I'm going to do that change. I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to be willing and truthful about what I want in my life. And when I started doing that and putting in positive and spiritual things into my thought process and replacing all the negative and fearful and dark thoughts that I had with the positive and spiritual energies, then, man, my life started transforming. And it's no joke. You know what I mean? It happens. You know what I'm saying? If you feed your mental thought process those positive and spiritual and divine energies, man, you're going to be transformed. You're not going to know what the heck came about. You're going to be a different person, because you can be. You know what I mean? You can be. And I mean, because I've been there. I've been out in the streets homeless, and I've been in the bandos. I've been in the motels. I've been in the tent communities. I mean, I've been there, done that. And there were days it just seemed like, okay, well, this is my life now. Here's where I wound up. Go figure. But, you know, always some seeds that get planted from way back when, you know what I mean? And everybody has a seed. You know what I mean? There's a seed. You watching this video is a seed. You know what I mean? And it just depends on how much you water that seed and how fast it's going to grow. So if you continue to watch videos like this and be inspired and do the things that are taught, that are spoken about, you know what I mean? There was a lot of prayers in those stories that I read that people did. You can adopt those into your own life and see how it works for you. You know what I mean? But the key is to do it on a positive, spiritual, and repetitive note. That is the key. You know, don't think that you can just do a prayer one day and leave it and say, okay, well, I did my due diligence. You know, when is it going to start raining gold over here? It is not. You know what I mean? It's a process. It's a process, and it's a lifestyle. It's something that you have to do repetitively. I do this I personally do that kind of stuff every single day. I'm chanting prayers. I'm chanting, you know, things that I want to come into fruition in my life on the daily. And I act as if they're already here. You know what I mean? And, you know, by the grace of God, I've been a transformed person. You know, if you would have caught me 2 years ago, you know, I'd have probably sold you a 20. You know what I mean? but because I've transformed my life and my mental thought process, I'm able to sit here and share a beautiful story with you guys. And that's the whole purpose of doing this video podcast, is to help the next person to take that first step to, if you're already in recovery, if you already, broke the chains, and it's just a nudge to say, hey, you know what, keep on going, man, you're doing great. You know what I mean? So I'm just glad that you guys were able to come into contact with me today and listen to what I had to say, man. I hope you guys enjoyed chapter 14 of The Cosmic Power Within You. Beautiful book. And man, check this out. We're almost done with this thing. We got, I think, one more chapter left. How about that, man? It's awesome that we, if you've been watching since we first started this, man, you almost read a whole book. You know what I mean? How great is that? There's a lot of information and knowledge in all those stories that I read, man, and could be very helpful. So hopefully today was the story hopefully today your story was in that reading today. And if it wasn't, stay tuned for tomorrow, and maybe tomorrow's episode will have your story in it. It's something that you need to hear. And that's the whole purpose, right? Is to help the next person struggling to come over to this side of, positivity, spirituality, and recovery, man. So thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it. If you would, please hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. Shoot me a comment if you want me to talk about anything. If you would, just share the channel, man, because it's the only way that we'll be able to help and share and help the next person who needs it. And so I greatly appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. God bless you guys. I guess until the next time, when the smoke clears, I am the Recovery Plug.